Welcome to our next 2023 NFL prediction episode. Today we have the Atlanta Falcons. Before we get started, make sure to like, follow, and subscribe wherever you're listening at or viewing at. If you're seeing this clip on Instagram or TikTok, make sure to go follow over there as well for predictions of all 32 NFL teams before the season begins. At quarterback, the Atlanta Falcons have Desmond Ridder, who obviously is going into his first full year of being their starting quarterback. Just in case, which is a great idea, by the way, from the Falcons, they got Taylor Heineke as their backup. If Desmond Ridder struggles at all at the beginning, I think they're going to give him some leeway because they don't have super high expectations this year. But Taylor Heineke has proven to be a tremendous backup in this league and a solid starter whenever you need him to be. With the Washington Commanders, he showed that. Last year, the Falcons were 7-10 with this awful division that they were in, where the Buccaneers, who were 8-9, won the division. That just shows what the status is of this division. But like I said, Desmond Ridder is going to be their quarterback this year. They have high hopes for him, and hopefully he can show out for them this year. The running back room is where they really kind of hang their hat on. It's really hard to tell who their starting back is going to be when you talk about the most touches, because that also gets tricky. So they have Tyler Algier, Cordero Patterson, and Bijan Robinson. Bijan is obviously a rookie coming in this year from Texas. Tyler Algier kind of jumped on the scene last year. And Cordero Patterson, since they have Algier and Robinson, I think they're going to use Cordero more of as a receiving back, more of a receiver in general, because there's not a whole lot of running touches he's going to get unless it's, goal line type stuff. So those are three running backs that can really be productive. Desmond Ridder's obviously very athletic as well. So having those three running backs with Ridder, those four guys there can really make some exciting things happen in the backfield. Wide receiver wise, it gets a little tricky because Drake London is obviously a young wide receiver that they have hopes for. But then besides him, Mac Hollins and Scotty Miller are their other two main receivers. I don't see a whole lot of potential there. At the tight end position, Kyle Pitts is there, and they expect him to continue to grow in their system. And then offensive line wise, honestly, their offensive line is pretty solid. Like it's probably anywhere in the range between 8 and 12 in the league. They're a top 10 offensive line. So that's something that will really pair well with their running game that they're obviously trying to build there. But like I said, I don't know how the passing game is going to be. It could just be okay, just like kind of was talking with the Panthers about this too. They don't have a clear number one. The Falcons have more of a clear number one with Drake London and obviously Kyle Pitts. But you throw Cordell Patterson in the pass game, and then you have three options, which is more than what the Panthers have, in my opinion. So very interesting offense. I could see it going both ways. I could see them being very explosive and very successful this year, but I could also see it just not working out. Like worst case scenario, Desmond Ridder just doesn't get a rhythm going. And Taylor Heineke has to come in, but I mean, he could work well with the system as well. So I could see overall the offense being I can see them being better than I can see them, having a bad season, if that makes sense. So moving on to the defense, they were 23rd overall in defense last year in total defense. Not something they really hang their hat on, of course. Grady Jarrett on the defensive line, 6.5 sacks last year in 2022. They signed Calais Campbell. He's 38 years old. I just don't see a whole lot of production out of that defensive line. Hopefully Grady Jarrett can be explosive again this year, but I don't know. I don't see a lot of production up and down the defensive line. Same thing with the linebackers. Bud Dupree is their main linebacker here. He's a veteran, obviously, 30 years old. Spent the last 2 years, I believe, with Tennessee. He's not the same 13, 14 sacks per year guy he was in Pittsburgh. Last year, I think he had 4.5. So you're obviously hoping that he will bring in some veteran leadership to this roster, but you're not looking for him to be super productive. It's kind of unrealistic to expect that out of him this point in his career. Quarterback wise, AJ Terrell had an awful 2022, no interceptions in 2022. They need him to be better in 2023. And then safety wise, Jesse Bates, they got him from Cincinnati, kind of like what the Panthers did. and their secondary as well. You get this guy from Cincinnati who's been in the big moments, who's been in Super Bowl, AFC Championship type situations. He might really be able to help this defense, which obviously needs to improve if they're going to be better in 2023. Moving on to their schedule a little bit here. Again, this division is not great. I keep forgetting. I think I had the Saints at 12-5. It's that or 11-6. I think it's 12-5 is what I had them as. The Panthers I had at 8-9. We haven't done the Buccaneers yet, so let's look at what the Falcons have record wise this year. Week 1 versus the Panthers at home, I had them winning this one. Week 2 at home versus the Packers, a loss, and then week 3 at the Lions, a loss there as well. Now, they could very easily start the season 3-0. They could beat the Packers at home. That's a very winnable game. And at the Lions in the dome, they're used to playing in a dome. I could see them winning here as well. I have both of those as losses, but it could be one way or the other. Week 4 is at the Jacksonville Jaguars. At the Jaguars, technically it's in England. It's an international series. I have them losing this one. That's another game I think is going to be a lot closer than what people think versus the Jaguars in England. I have them losing that one. So 1-3 to start the year. Week 5 at home versus the Texans. I have them winning this one. The Texans are awful, absolutely awful. CJ Stroud versus Desmond Ridder. It could be a very interesting matchup, though. Week 6 at home versus the Commanders. I have a loss here. Be interesting to see if Taylor Heineke's in that game at all. Let's see if Desmond Ridder struggles to start the year. Taylor Heineke gets in and gets to play his former team. That'd be kind of interesting. But I have a loss there. Week 7 versus at the Buccaneers, I have a win here, and then week 8 at the Titans, I have a win there as well. So I have them winning a couple there on the road. They come back at home versus the Vikings, winnable game, but I have a loss here. Week 10 at the Cardinals, I have a win here as well. After that, week 11 is their bye. Week 12, they come back at home versus the Saints. I have a win here. I have them splitting with the Saints, as you guys should know from the Saints episode. They always seem to really be competitive against each other. Week 13 at the New York Jets, I have a loss here. Week 14 at home versus the Buccaneers, I have a loss here, actually, a little surprise there. And then week 15 at the Panthers, a loss there. That's a tough 3 straight losses there, which I think personally in these last 6 weeks of the season, they kind of get booted out from the playoff push at all there. So week 16 at home versus the Colts, a win here. Week 17 at the Bears, a loss. Winnable game, though. And then week 18 at the Saints, a loss as well. That comes out as 7-10 for the Atlanta Falcons this year. They have a ceiling. They're very interesting to me because they have a ceiling where you look at some of these matchups. Packers could be a win. At Lions could be a win. At Jaguars could be a win. Versus the Commanders could be a win. Versus the Vikings could be a win. This team, you talk about the Buccaneers, I have them splitting. They could win both there as well. The Panthers, I have them splitting. They can win both there. The Bears, the Colts. Like, this is a very winnable schedule for the Atlanta Falcons. I just don't have a whole lot of trust in that defense, and I don't have a whole lot of trust in Desmond Ridder yet. But if he shows out in these first couple weeks, I'm gonna have to eat my words with this because he could show out and just shut me up completely. I have them at 7-10 though, which is lower than the Carolina Panthers, obviously lower than the New Orleans Saints. We'll see where they rank with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are next, so be on the lookout for that. But that wraps it up for the Atlanta Falcons. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe wherever you're listening at or viewing at. Of course, like this video if you're seeing this on Instagram and TikTok. But we'll see you guys for the Buccaneers.